This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Doc Thompson On Demand.
Doc Thompson on 700 WLW. Hey, it started discussing yesterday about school levy. That you could see some schools put levies on the ballot coming up in May. Some of them already floating the idea out there. And during that discussion, we started talking about some of the real problems when it comes to school funding, and that is that they build these palaces. When it comes to schools, look at the schools today. Look at them. Do we really need all that junk in the schools? Do you really need these grand entranceways and marble and fireplaces? For Pete's sake, it was West Claremont has a rock climbing wall in the gymnasium. While these things are nice, are they really necessary? And as we struggle with school funding and saying what is important, we've got to prioritize. And would you say those things are a priority when it comes to educating our children? So here's what I want you to do. If you would, please look at your school, your kids' schools. Look around your neighborhoods. You drive by them. You don't even have to go in. Maybe you don't even have a kid in school, but you drive by and you see things and you're like, that seems like something the school could do without that probably costs some money. That maybe that money would have been better spent someplace else. And then send me that information. Just go ahead and email me, doc@700WLW.com. List the school and the area, and if you're listening out of state or on the internet far away, list the state as well in parentheses, and then just mention what that school has. So mention the district, the school, and the state, and mention, hey, guess what? They've got a giant fireplace in there. That's one that somebody sent me yesterday as well. A marble entrance and a fireplace. Just go ahead and send me that information. I'm going to compile the list, and then I'll eventually put it on my blog and just continue to update it. Because I speculate that every school that has been built probably in the last 20, 25 years, maybe longer, has not just a couple of things, but a lot of grand examples. A lot of grand examples of things that the school doesn't need and isn't a priority. And I think when I compile the list and we see these things, it's going to be really obvious fast. It's going to be really obvious that we shouldn't be spending the money on that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just compile the list, but I need your help. I put it on my Facebook page, but go ahead and email me, doc@700WLW.com. Hey, if you have a picture, even better. If you are in the school and you want to, snap a photo, whatever, on your cell phone camera, regular camera, and send it to me, that's cool. You don't have to do that, but feel free to. And I'm just going to put this huge list together. And then when any of these people come to us for levies, we can all be informed. So even if you're not from a particular district and you say, hey, that district's coming to us, for another levy and they don't have the money, you can say, oh, right here on Doc's blog, here's the picture of the, 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools and the snow cone machine they have. You could say, hey, maybe that levy's not the best idea. Maybe you should have spent your money more wisely last time around. And I know there's a lot of other pieces to it. It's not as simple as that, but that is part of the problem. So just go ahead and send it to me, doc@700WLW.com. Real quick call here from Deb and Anderson. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing. You wanted to mention the rock climbing wall?
Yeah, I just wanted to, urge you to tell the listeners to think about things a little bit more holistically, because while I don't agree, I do agree with you on the snow cone machines, fireplaces, etc. I don't agree on things like a rock climbing wall, because then we can get into a whole nother discussion about obese children and what are we doing and what things can we do in order to teach them better nutrition and physical fitness. I want to be careful about zeroing out physical fitness, because that is such an important part of their education.
Well, I agree with you on the physical fitness, and I have no problem with them providing things that would help kids take part in activities as part of a physical fitness class or even recess, something like that, where they can get out and about. Which is cheaper, Debbie, a couple of basketballs or a rock climbing wall?
Well, I think, if you look at it, probably a rock climbing wall doesn't cost that much because it's all molded plastic. I'm just not wanting us to get kind of overboard with it.
No,
Debbie.
That's the reason I said just go ahead and send me the stuff, and sure, there will be some examples where we all look at and go, well, that's kind of silly or whatever. But I think in the grand scheme, we'll look at it and say, you know what, a lot of these are ridiculous. I understand what you're saying about rock climbing. Well, I'm not saying we don't need things for physical activity. That seems pretty excessive in the world. First of all, you're limited to the kids that can use it. It's not something that would be, I wouldn't think, if you asked doctors, would that be first on the list of things, or how high on the list of things that you could use for a physical activity as far as getting the best workout? I mean, I think it would probably be pretty low down the list for them.
Well, I think we could probably get into a great debate on it, but and the pros and cons, but I know you don't want to do that over the radio. I think that your blog is a great idea, and I'm going to be happy to add to it.
Okay.
And I hope we'll be able to differentiate between perhaps maybe even different school districts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's really important if people send this stuff. You really have to mention the district, the school, and the state. You know, if you're listening online in Utah right now, make sure you mention where it is.
Yeah, because, for instance, I'm in the Forest Hills School District, and we have excellent schools, and our schools are really old, and we have gone forward a couple of times with levies that have been denied. But if you really want to see a model of a district that is making do with a lot less than other districts, then I think Forest Hills is a great example. Okay,
I appreciate the call. Thanks for sharing. You got to bring up a good point, Debbie. Listen, not everything that everybody says is going to be right on. There's going to be plenty of it that you and I both look at and go, okay, he's being a little ridiculous, or that's not an extreme case. That's not the extreme case of bad spending or bad choices when it comes to spending. I would think that they'd probably be pretty obvious, but let's go ahead and put them out there. Let's go ahead and put it out there, and then we can take a look at them. I would still say a rock climbing wall, though, to me, is falling into that category. Because I mentioned basketballs, but do you really, if you're worried about obesity and you're worried about those things, do you need a rock climbing wall at all? Do you even need a basketball? There are jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups. Kids can play tag. If you want to make it fun, you're like, Doc, sit-ups and push-ups and those things aren't fun for kids. Okay, you're right. How about tag where you run? Red Rover. Any of these games, hide and seek. Those things don't require any basketballs, footballs, any other equipment. It's just kids moving. There are plenty of things you can do in school that don't require equipment at all for physical education. And they can still be fun. Now, I'm not a complete ogre to say that it'd be nice to have a couple of basketballs or soccer ball or something like that. Sure. But what do those things cost? What's a basketball cost? $30? $40? Something like that? You buy a couple of them? I mean, you're not talking rock climbing walls then or swimming pools. Again, are these things nice? Absolutely. Now, we got some tough choices to make when it comes to these things. We can no longer continue to say we're just going to build and build and build. Unless you are somebody who happens to believe that school funding is fine. That we need to just go ahead and pony up more money so the kids can have all of these things. I'm somebody that says, no, we should start cutting and looking at prioritizing in this stuff. Nick Fairfield, you're on 700 WLW.
Good morning, Doc. I enjoy listening to you in the mornings.
Thank you, sir.
I have a couple questions. You need to educate me here a little bit since we're talking about education.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know exactly how schools are funded in this state?
Primarily through property taxes.
Okay.
Which has also been ruled unconstitutional.
Absolutely. Have you ever read, I think it's Section 3300 of the Ohio Revised Code?
I have not. I've only seen the excerpts when it comes out, when the story comes out. Once again, you know, it pops up all the time how we still haven't fixed this and it's unconstitutional.
Okay. Have you ever had anybody on or talked to anybody from Columbus, from the Ohio School Facilities Committee?
I have not here, no. Is that your suggestion?
Well, yeah. I think what we need to do, we're listening, and I agree with you on a lot of these things, these objections that you have on school funding, because school funding is basically the same in about 46 of the 50 states. They do the same thing we do here in Ohio. And the system we're using is about 80 years old and was developed when we didn't have this massive amount of kids and unfunded mandates and just all the stuff that school has come down to, up to and including dealing with teachers' unions. I think it would be really, really great for a big voice like WLW to maybe bring some of these people in and let's start dealing from facts and straight dope. And then I think with the new governor being in place, and again, we're moving from one side to the next with the change of governors, I think we need to get Mr. Kasich, who's very radio-oriented, media-oriented, and maybe get him to sit down and realize that the most singular important thing that affects every man, woman, and child in this state in some fashion or another is to change this funding system that we have for schools up to and including how we pay the teachers, the administrators, and the backup staff.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nick, we do offer, we do here on the station, you hear it round the clock, whether it's me or Willie or Jim Scott or whatever, we do offer a lot of interviews. I had a guy, Ohio School Choice, on yesterday, so we do put a lot of information out there. I will take your suggestion, try to get somebody on from the state, and we'll talk about it at that level, and maybe even the governor. It's Doc Thompson on 700 WL.